All right, we should be live. Just gotta make sure that YouTube is properly set up, and then we're good to go. Hopefully my audio's okay. Welcome, welcome, if you're just joining us. Howdy, howdy on YouTube. Welcome all. Just gotta pop out the YouTube chat. We should be good to go. Hope everybody's having a spectacular day. Yeah, okay, I think we're all set. Well, you guys know the drill. You get me for an hour and a half or so of, you know, office hours, if you will. Are the UAPs USO real? Are they really I don't know what you're referring to. I mean, there are unidentified aerial phenomena. The question is are they aliens? I kind of suspect not. But I could be wrong. I've been wrong in the past. Well, somebody wants to come up and ask a question. What is today's ology? It's always going to be plantology. Always. Forever and a half.
Hello, how you doing?
Twinny, how's it going?
Great. I've become obsessed with UAPs and USOs.
I don't know what USOs are.
You said what?
I don't know what USOs are.
Unidentified submerged, you know, unidentified submerged objects. So
okay.
Pretty much, you know, they've been seeing these UAPs not just in our skies and in space, but as well in our oceans, right?
Okay, so what question you got for me?
I was asking about Stargates, so which are would be portals.
They almost certainly aren't real. I'll give you that much.
Okay, so there's no way there could be a portal.
There's not no way, but there's almost certainly there is no way.
Okay, so no way we couldn't portal.
We would need to be wrong about every piece of physics that we know.
Okay. The UAPs are doing things that seems like that it could be possible though. So I don't know. That's why I was asking.
I wouldn't take it too seriously until they produce, you know, some genuine evidence rather than footage.
Roger. And that's why I'm kind of like going down the rabbit hole now, just watching documentaries. You know, they're coming out with a new film, Age of Disclosure. Of course, with all the military and higher ups and people in the picture.
Sure.
Right. You know, confirming it. So I do agree with you as well. So I'm steadily just watching and keeping an eye on, you know, everything.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you go, 20, but thanks for being here.
All right, then.
There are some questions. Let's answer those questions. Why'd you run from the Elliot argument? Nobody ran. I just wanted to have a conversation, you know, with somebody that I've never heard of in an informal setting before I agreed to waste time with somebody who's probably not worth the time. You think that recent galaxy rotation thing is an observation bias? Maybe. It also seems like a very small sample size given that we've seen way more galaxies than 250, right? What happens if one of two entangled particles falls into a black hole? It's a good question. The entanglement might be obliterated. This is the firewall hypothesis. Or maybe there's some form of instantaneous, there's some form of entanglement between the two. It's really hard to say. We just don't know. Is dark matter a fact or still in question? In a sense, it's a fact, in that dark matter is an explanation for the observed gravitational anomalies that we observe. If by dark matter you mean there is a particle that we call dark matter, that is in question. That's up for debate. Neck 2, it does make you an expert plantologist if you water your plants today. Does fire take space? I mean, it's made of stuff, so yeah, in a sense. Haven't they already made a wormhole? No. No real wormholes have been made. A priori, I'm not taking on people who are coming to work on some paper that they're working on. This is a question and answer live stream. What's your opinion on the universe being deterministic versus containing some amount of true random? I suspect it's deterministic in a quantum sense, but you know, I'd be happy to be wrong about that. Why many galaxy centers have black holes? It seems that black holes are instrumental in the formation of galaxies. We don't fully understand it yet, but that seems to be the case. Can you explain the slipping in the Aristotle wheel paradox? Yeah, the inner wheel slips, that's all. Can you explain the Desi data dump? I have a recent video on it, so you should go watch that. If the matter is the dark matter is up to question, then it's a bad name. Well, it could be other forms of matter, not just a particle. It could be machos, massive astrophysical compact halo objects. These would be like black holes or asteroids that we can't see for whatever reason. But yeah, so why is integration not methodical like differentiation? Because it's an inverse operation. Is entropy also the release of all information? It's not the release. Could you suggest good papers to read regarding the infinite universe? I don't know what you mean regarding the infinite universe. Like, that's... You might find that in, like, a textbook. That's not, like, modern... Like, research isn't really focused on just thinking about what would it be like if the universe is infinite, right? Blitz, did you study game theory at university? I didn't. Is he even reading these chats? I am, yeah. Can you explain Hawking's often quoted universe from nothing? Yeah, he has. Hawking had this idea. Hawking combined with this fellow called Hartle, David Hartle, maybe, where they thought that you could actually have a closed-off Big Bang singularity, which doesn't really have a. It doesn't have a singularity. It just kind of has a smooth beginning. In which case, it genuinely would come from nothing because it's kind of smooth. It's not like some instantaneous thing, and so they were able to make sense of this. But in that sense, there's not really time when it forms, so it's more like space just existed and then time formed afterwards. It's a little bit complicated. Did anything new come out about the Majorana zero mode stuff? No, actually, nothing came out of it, and their release at the March meeting was basically showing that it was bunk. What's your favorite application of physics? Black holes. Anything about black holes, generally. If universe expansion is just a scale factor, does it mean that the universe before the Big Bang was infinite too? It could be. Yeah, absolutely. If the universe is infinite now, then yeah, that would be the case. Why do dogs have wet noses? That's a good question. I don't know. Is the fifth dimension based on sound? There is no fifth dimension that's ever been measured. How often do you think... I like your content. How often do you think about how you're perceived? Never. I literally never think about it. It's called being socially unaware. How does electromagnetism interact with relativity? So relativity actually explains why electromagnetism is the way it is. Basically, you could think of electromagnetism as just being electricity plus relativity. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the basic gist. Best way to prove to a coworker that the Earth is not flat? Ask them to explain how sunsets work. Studying the Big Bang made me a theist? Then you didn't study it hard enough. What do you do for work? I do mathematics and I do physics. Is your research on black holes? I do some black hole stuff. I currently have a visitor for a week and we're working on a project about black holes. What is 7 plus 4? It's 11. What physics research is realistic for undergraduates? Any sort of programming, any sort of simulation stuff, you can probably do. How are the laws of physics still valid if there's things that defies the laws of physics? I don't think that there are any. Is time the fourth dimension? Time is a fourth dimension. What's your favorite horizon? Event horizon, Cauchy horizon, or flat Earth horizon? So I actually I'm quite fond of event horizons because they're so confusing, like they're tautological things. So I really like them, but they are hard to work with. I really like physics, but I don't like maths that much, but I want to do engineering, probably mechanical. Do you know if there's more math stuff there or physics? They're both very heavy in math. Physics is going to be harder, but less math, and engineering will be easier, but more math. Where are physicists looking for monopoles in the universe? In their laboratories, generally. Some are doing, like, I'm sure there's some astrophysical searches, but I'm not familiar with those. By the way, I'm streaming on both YouTube and on TikTok, so if I'm answering questions from something that you're not seeing, it's because I'm streaming from that source as well. Do you believe the universe is deterministic? Yes, sorta, kinda. Do you like women? Not only do I like women, I love a woman. How can time have a first moment? It could if the moments before it were not time-like but space-like. This is the root of the Hartle-Hawking model. My question was, what's your opinion on Yang-Mills mass gap? Should we use logarithmic corrections? I know nothing about the Yang-Mills mass gap solutions. I know about the problem, but I don't know anything about the actual quest for solutions, if you will. Do you use geometric calculus? I don't know what that phrase means. Can you guess where I'm from? No. Were your parents religious? Mildly. Did you ever take any computer science courses? I took one programming class, yeah. Should I take data science or quantum hardware or CS for my master's? I want to do a particle PhD. Why not do physics for your master's? What do you think about Aristotle's physics? It's super out of date. Why is magnetism considered its own thing and not just a moving electric force? It is that. It's just we didn't know that at first, so it kind of got its own name. What are the most promising experimental and theoretical advancements in quantum gravity, and how close are we to a testable theory? As far as I know, there are no promising experimental advancements. Theoretical advancements, there's something called celestial holography and Carolean holography, which might give us some good intuition, but do you agree that mass determines potential terminal velocity speed? In an atmosphere, well, it's not mass, it's surface area. Well, I guess mass does play a role because mass plays a role in the acceleration, but it's really surface area that's important here. But yeah, mass also plays a role. What physics area do you fancy? Relativity and cosmology, which are very, very closely related. Can the Higgs field explain dark matter? No, unfortunately, no. Do you believe Hawking's theory of a holographic universe? Hawking wasn't the holography person. No hate, but what do you do with your physics PhD? I work at a university. I do research as my day job. Is physicist not another name for mystic? No. $2 from Ligma. Thoughts on the origins of dark matter, dark energy? By the way, sending gifts is a good way to get your question answered first. So Ligma, we have no idea, unfortunately. We don't even know what dark matter is. We now know that dark energy is probably not a cosmological constant. At least that's my position. This is contentious because it's very, very recent news. But if dark matter is not a cosmological constant, then it's much, much harder to explain, right? Repo, thank you for the sunglasses. I appreciate you. I have to find your question now, though. Where's your question? I can't find your question, Repo. Or you just sent glasses, which I appreciate. When does the Physicist arrive? I'm already here. Can you explain the new state of matter that Microsoft created? They didn't. Almost certainly they didn't. Unfortunately. Thought on Z as my first QFT book. It's a good book. I think that's one I used in graduate school, but I don't remember because it's been a long time. Do you believe that other dimensions exist, like in Rick and Morty? No, that's fiction. Dark matter is small radii objects emitting higher gravity due to not being part of a larger system. Well, that's not how gravity works, but there are things called machos, which are real things, and possibly the explanation for dark matter, which is massive astrophysical compact halo objects. These are like black holes or asteroids or something that are just dark and hard to see. If you ever have time, I have a theoretical concept for a 4D camera. I don't know if that would be of interest, though. Unfortunately, I just don't have time for this kind of thing right now. Do you think the multiverse theory is possible? It's possible, but we don't have evidence for it. Is the singularity still a part of the Big Bang? It's kind of there as a placeholder. Can you explain the exclusion principle? Do you mean the uncertainty principle? Oh no, you mean the Pauli exclusion principle. Yeah, basically, there are two types of particles, bosons and fermions. When you swap, and this just has to do with the symmetry of spacetime, when you swap two bosons, the function that describes them is the same when you swap the places of two bosons. When you swap the place of two fermions, two identical fermions, the function that describes them gets an overall negative, which means that you can't have two fermions in the exact same state, because then you could swap them without changing anything. And the thing would have to be the negative of itself, which is 0. So, this exclusion principle is actually pretty mysterious. It just seems to be a property of spacetime. In fact, it arises because of the way our spacetime behaves. It arises as a result of Lorentz, or rather the Poincare symmetry that describes our universe. It's quite mysterious, though. Where are you on the rate of universe expansion? The universe expansion is accelerating, but the acceleration is decreasing. Do you have a girlfriend? I'm married to a woman. I learned there are 22 states of matter. It's hard to count them. Like, it depends on what you define as a state of matter. There's a lot of states of matter, though. Is there a similar effect to magnetism for a moving gravitational body? Yes, and it's called gravitomagnetism. There's also gravitoelectromagnetism as well, which is just like a certain canonical description of gravity that kind of that's like kind of analogous to electricity and magnetism. Bosons only have 360 of spin. Fermions have 720 degrees of info. Well, that's not really a great way of describing it. I mean, it's sort of right, but not really. Where and when was the singularity when it began? Everywhere. If there was a singularity, it was everywhere. And it was 13.8 billion years ago or so. What are good questions to stump a creationist? Just ask them why there's lead in zircon crystals. How hard was it to learn calc? It came pretty easily to me, but I had a really good teacher. Do you study black hole interactions, or is your research on the properties of black holes? I study black hole asymptotics, so like long time behavior of black holes. At least that's the current project I'm working on. I also spent some time working on the intrinsic geometry of black hole event horizons. Published 2 papers on that. I mean, I do geometry. Geometry is like my day job, or geometry is like my field, but I use that to apply to black holes and stuff like that. Do you see any principles of physics that haven't been used implicated in medicine? I don't know what's been used in medicine, so I can't really comment. Dark energy is from the cosmic horizon. Okay, this is... What's the difference between rapidity and pseudo-rapidity? I don't know what pseudo-rapidity is. Rapidity is basically a measure of velocity that's kind of... that goes off to infinity as this velocity goes to the speed of light, but I've never heard of pseudo-rapidity. Do you agree that heavier objects reach a higher terminal velocity? No, it depends on their cross-sectional area. You could have a heavy object that's also very, very large cross-sectionally, and so it would have a low terminal velocity. Typical Blitz has no science, just repeat what is told. Oh, okay, cool. Was recent Kerr's work good? No, it wasn't. It was not good. What were you doing when you were 17? I was in school. What shape is a black hole's event horizon? Well, it depends on the black hole, but most of them are, well, it depends. They can be very wobbly, but they stop being wobbly quite quickly. And then they settle down to like an oval. What was your reaction when you heard about the data teleportation that occurred recently? It's very underwhelming. Like, it's neat. It's a neat advancement, but it's nothing like groundbreaking. People have been doing quantum teleportation for years. Can we catch a photon? Yeah, you do it with your eyes all the time. How did they determine how long a second was? It's just an arbitrary choice. Advise a future astrophysicist something. How could I prepare for bachelor's? I'm still in school. Just practice your math. The biggest source of failure amongst people who want to go to school for astrophysics or physics is their math isn't strong enough and they struggle with the math. Because when you're learning physics, you can't let the math be the thing that's stopping you from understanding it because the concepts come so fast. Who's the smartest person you met? I've mildly met Edward Witten. That he probably is. That's probably him. He's him. Thank you for the meteor shower, Fen. I appreciate you. Now I just have to find your question. Maybe you didn't ask one. Yeah, I should specify. Oh, how does modern physics challenge our understanding of what is real? Look, because the thing is like we can pick up a thing and be like, ah, this is real because I can touch it and hold it. But like, is an electron real? Like, an electron obviously has a real physical effect on stuff. They're individual things. But like, is an electron real, or is it just like a bundle of properties? What does it mean to be real? Is it the electron function, the electron field that's real? These are hard questions. This is deep philosophical stuff. Hi from Romania. Hello. How can I become smarter in terms of thinking and writing? I don't know how to answer that question. Why moment of force and energy have same measure? You mean same units? There's just not enough units for all the different things we want to describe. How far from Earth's surface is 1/2 g? I guess it would be like 41% away from the Earth's surface or something like that. Would a round trip across the solar system using our current given technology and available resources be possible? With people in it, probably not, but with probes, yeah. Is it true hot water freezes quicker than cold water? Sorta, kinda, not really. About the math question, is it worth it to take a second undergrad in math, or should I learn by yourself? I did a second undergraduate. I did a double major in undergraduate, and that was helpful for me. And also, I like math. How can semi-direct fermions exhibit mass only while moving in a specific direction? You'd have to go read the paper for that. There's a lot of theory review in that paper, but essentially, there's just a. So keep in mind, semi-direct fermions are not fundamental particles. So these are excitations, and it just happens to be that the way the excitations propagate in one direction compared to the other direction, because the crystals are different depending on what direction you're looking at them from, they behave differently. Mostly pluses or mostly minuses? I prefer all plus, to be honest, because the Riemannian signature is based. However, when forced to, I will go with minus plus plus plus. In one paper we ended up using mostly minus, and it was awful. And can you explain the difference in a black hole singularity and the assumed singularity in a Big Bang? Well, at least in a short, so there are different kinds of black holes, right? The Big Bang singularity is a past singularity, meaning that stuff comes out of it, nothing goes into it, and it's space-like. If there is a Big Bang singularity, which there probably isn't. In a black hole singularity, again, if there are singularities in black holes, non-rotating black hole singularities will have a space-like future singularity, meaning that it's sort of like a moment in time rather than a place in space. On the other hand, in rotating black holes, their singularities are ringularities, and these ringularities are more like places in space rather than moments in time. So these are things that you can go around. What do you do with your degree? I work at a university as a researcher. Do you choose the Copenhagen interpretation or a different one? Copenhagen's terrible. Copenhagen is terrible because it runs into a lot of issues with like simultaneity of relativity. It runs into issues with like, it's not unitary, certainly. There's just a lot of problems with Copenhagen. And it's kind of just a cop-out as well. I have a question about CMB and inflation. I was wondering if there's a way to come up and talk to you on YouTube, and I've never done a live chat. You can't come up from YouTube because I don't have the link posted. But maybe next time I will have the link posted on YouTube so that people from YouTube can come up. Do you believe in string theory? Not really, but it is, you know, still a good idea, I think. It's, yeah. Do you talk about evolution? Not in my field of expertise, but I do talk about it sometimes. There's no past Big Bang singularity. Did time begin there? Well, we don't know. There probably wasn't a singularity in my view, so... can we optimize eddy current to slow down gunshot? Maybe? I guess you would need some really strong magnets. What is currently most exciting and promising area of physics, astrophysics for you? All of this new stuff about the cosmological constant, I think is quite exciting. What's your field of expertise? Relativity, well, physics in general, but yeah. What's more fundamental, space-time and information? I don't know. Nobody knows. So why does Landauer limit at Hawking temperature input equal GR gravitate? GR gravitational energy per Planck area. For any black hole of any scale. I don't even know if that's true. I actually have to work out the calculation and check. But like it's certainly, it might be true for like static black holes, but certainly not the case for non-static black holes. Or non-stationary black holes, I should say. What's your favorite theory of what's inside the event horizon? I don't have one, actually. Can we see our own early galaxy forming in deep field images? If not, can you explain why? Well, how could we? Unless there's a mirror, which there isn't, we wouldn't be able to. Have we found any connection between black and white holes? There probably are no white holes. Any fun paradox you enjoy? No, I hate paradoxes. Did you go to college? Of course I did. But I'm not going to tell you. How much math required for undergraduate physics? Quite a bit. Are you more of a mathematician or a physicist? Depends on who you ask. The physics that I do, some of the physics that I do, is considered mathematics in the US and is considered physics in Europe. So it depends on what I do. It depends on what I'm working on, who I'm working with, and where I'm working on it. Like, it's wild. What made you pick physics over other fields of scientific study? Well, it seems like everything else is just physics if you boil it down enough, so... Do you have a video about twins paradox? Yeah, I do. I have a few, actually. Do you think the universe is infinite or limited? I suspect it's probably infinite, but, you know, I'd be happy to be wrong about that. Do you think the quantum mechanics can provide a basis for free will? No, absolutely not. Can evaporating black holes explain anomalously high energy neutrinos? Probably not. I think that evaporating black holes would be very, very obvious, actually, but we haven't seen those. So what are your thoughts on the new Microsoft quantum chip utilizing the topological properties? Well, they probably didn't. They faked it, or they lied, rather, is what it seems to be the case. Are gravitons real and any chance of discovery soon? No chance of discovery soon. They might be real, though. All right, I'm going to bring on a guest. Let's bring up Ethian, because Ethian is a friend, and we bring on friends first. Or as my other buddy says, Ethian! How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having me up. Yeah, so I had a question about BGV today.
Oh no, not BGV.
Why no?
Oh no, I was thinking of BV, not BGV. BGV is fine.
Oh, okay. So Mr. Matt O'Dowd said that a lot of cyclical models.
Dr. Matt O'Dowd, by the way.
Excuse me. Yes, Doctor.
Professor, even.
And I know he's actively publishing too. I usually just fall back to Mr. as a meme. He said that cyclical models in BGV would violate the weak energy principle. Could you explain why exactly that is?
So cyclical model. So the claim is does the BG. I don't know why he would say that. Was this in a recent video?
A month ago, I think.
Maybe I'll go watch it. But the BGV theorem is basically a statement that if the average rate of change of the size of the universe is positive, meaning that if it's on average expanding, then you would have to have like a period of time where it's very, very small, like a singularity. That's the BGV theorem in essence. But if you have a cyclical model, then the average, then the size of the universe on average is not changing. It's expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting, and so the average isn't positive. It isn't positive. It's not on average expanding. So I don't know why that would be an issue. The weak energy principle, or the weak what is it? The weak energy principle is, what is this? That the energy along, it's not the null energy principle, which is the energy. So is the weak energy principle the one about integrated energy along a time like geodesic? I can never keep these straight.
I don't recall.
Okay, well, I made a video about the various energy conditions. Sorry, it's the weak energy condition. I made a video about these. I just can never keep them straight. But I don't think that would ensure that you have an issue with BGV if you have a cyclic model. But I'd have to think about it more. Keep in mind the BGV theorem hasn't been debunked per se, but it's been definitely shown to be less strong than it used to be. This is a fairly recent result by actually a former professor of mine, and a few other colleagues.
Is it like refuting the theorem, or is it saying, hey,
it's showing that the theorem has a hole?
It's not.
It's showing that the theorem has a hole.
Oh,
and that there's not actually an issue with there's no actual guarantee of a singularity given the conditions that they've stipulated. And if you ask me on Discord, I can link it to you after the live.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anything else?
No, that was really it. I actually got to get back to work.
Okay, sounds good. Have fun. Talk to you later, bud.
Did it.
All right, let's go back to answering questions. Is there a heaven? I suspect not. Is it possible the universe expands fast enough that it can expand forever even with no dark energy? Well, probably not, because that would mean that our universe is below the critical depth, has mass. Actually, let me think about this. Yeah, what's the statement here? So it seems like the answer would be no. If there was no dark energy, the universe would recollapse, right? If it were expanding fast enough, it's possible that it could get beyond that, but it's not. How do I get into grad school, Sob? I have 4.0 but got no REU offers. Work with a professor and try to publish something. Honestly, that's the easiest way. How does inflation explain CMB smoothness when inflation happened in the first fraction of a second while the CMB itself was... Yeah, no, this is a really good question. So the point is that the question is that in the early universe, if there was no inflation, then the lumpiness in the very, very early universe because that's where the lumpiness had the biggest effect, because it was very, very small, so the lumpiness could be dramatic. The quantum effects could cause large lumpiness. There wouldn't be enough time for those lumps to kind of talk to each other and level out as the universe is expanding. However, if the universe is expanded super, super rapidly, we would only be living on one lump, and that lump would have just been smeared out. And so basically, so what inflation does is it solves the early universe lumpiness, which then carries forward to the CMB. The fluctuations between 1 second and 370,000 years are not on the same scale, just because the universe just was so much bigger by that point. Will this get posted on YouTube today? Yeah, of course. Thoughts on PBS Spacetime? Arguably the best physics YouTube channel that exists. Dark energy is just an excuse for a flawed measuring stick. How do you figure? Is the universe unlimited in size, or does it stop? I suspect that it's unlimited in size. How to answer creationist claim of matter-antimatter disparity evidence of creation? It's an open question, but that doesn't mean that their answer is the correct one. What do you think about the Copenhagen interpretation? I don't buy it. Do you prefer cinetic? I don't know what cinetic. Oh, kinetic or potential energy. I don't have a preference. Was there before the universe? I suspect not, but that's probably because the universe has always existed. Can you explain what a topological state is? Yeah, all a topological state is it's just it's a quantum state that's protected from decaying because of a certain way because the quantum state can only be a certain way because of the way the atoms are arranged, or the particles are arranged, meaning that it's kind of locked in there topologically. Have you ever taken chemistry classes? Not since high school. Thoughts on the DESI results? I have a video on it. They're groundbreaking, in my view. And I suspect a Nobel Prize will come about because of it. Did you always have a big ego? Yeah. But it's not nearly as big as it used to be. That's thanks to my wife. My wife! Can you explain what... Oh, I already answered that. Surely everything is theory. It's like believing in God. You simply don't have to believe. No, not everything is theory. We have observational experimental evidence to support various models. Can you explain the Great Attractor? Yeah, probably it's just a bunch of galaxies that we can't see because our galaxy is in the way, blocking the light. Is there a way to prove that light is constant? You can just measure it. But there is an issue with Einstein synchronization, where you actually have to know that the speed of light is constant in order to measure the speed of light. So it's kind of a convention, but it's the simplest convention. Is it worth it to pursue physics? I mean, I love it, but the job market's always hard. What are the physical and or mathematical benefits of complexified space-time metrics and theoretical physics? Sometimes it just makes the math easier. Like there's this thing called Newman-Penrose notation, which uses, I mean, it's not like properly complexified. It's just using complex coordinates to describe a two-dimensional thing. Which you can always do, and it's not really complexified, but it can sometimes make the math easier. People are looking into complex, like actually talking about like space-time metrics on C4 rather than R4, but that's a very, very different question, and it's much harder. Do you believe in free will? I do not. If energy is infinite, does this imply the universe is some type of generator? No. Physics majors can have relationships? Interesting. Yes, I got married to my freshman year college girlfriend. And I've been with her ever since. Well, that's what you were.
You just keep saying I married a woman.
Well, she's the best woman, obviously. Obviously. What job do you work? I work at a university. I'm a researcher. How is it up for a Nobel if it's not 5 sigma? Well, 5 sigma is the gold standard for particle physics. It's not like in astrophysics, like 3 sigma is usually good enough. I'm not saying that this particular result will get a Nobel. What I'm saying is that the implications of this work will lead to one way or another. How has the Higgs boson led to advances in healthcare? It hasn't. Oh, I'm way behind. I'm sorry. What's 9 plus 10? 21. What's a down-to-earth explanation of the Yang-Mills mass gap problem? Yeah, okay. So roughly the statement is this. So Yang-Mills is basically what Yang-Mills is the name. It's the kind of mathematical name for the type of force that describes nuclear, like the strong nuclear force, which is what holds protons and neutrons together. But you can study Yang-Mills without having any quarks at all. You can just have gluons. Gluons are the force-carrying particles of Yang-Mills, and you can ask, how does a theory of just gluons behave? And it turns out that gluons, because they are carriers of a non-abelian gauge theory, don't worry about what that means, they can bind to themselves, and they can form a neutral state, a neutral color state, just with gluons themselves. Do you, thank you for the ZAR35, I don't know what that is. But thank you, Thabang Ramarimo. Do you one day wish to win a Nobel? I had dreams of it a long time ago, but not anymore. Anyway, back to the Yang-Mills mass gap. So, so the question is can you form arbitrarily low energy glue balls, is what they're called, just bound states of gluons? Or is there a minimum mass? Is there a minimum mass that glue balls can have? Now, we suspect that there's a minimum mass that glue balls can have, but proving that mathematically is very, very hard. By the way, thank you for the 35 ZAR. I still don't know what that is, but thank you for it. I don't know how much that is either. Somebody says, somebody was spamming, you're not smarter than Elon Musk. I can assure you I am. Like, absolutely, I can assure you that I am. So is my wife, by the way. She's very smart. How susceptible to Nobel syndrome would you be if it comes to it? I don't know, probably very. Is the universe the surface of a hypershape? Probably not, unless there's higher dimensions. How many people are researching the existence of magnetic monopoles? I have no idea what the numbers are. No idea. Oh, Zier is South African rand. Well, thank you. Thoughts on fusion? I think it'd be great if we can make it happen in a safe and effective way. How long have you been a physicist for? Depends on when you start counting. Probably since I started doing research, so 3 years plus another 4, so 7 years, say. But most of those were as a grad student. Plutus, thank you for the money gun. I appreciate you. Are you smarter than your wife? I suspect your wife is the real genius. So she is definitely smarter than me in some ways. I'm definitely smarter in the STEM fields, though. Like, that's my area. But she makes me feel dumb all the time. So, and not like a denigrating way, just like in a, oh, that's how that's supposed to work kind of way. Can you elaborate on not believing in free will? Very interesting topic. Would love to hear your take. Yeah, I mean, like, look, our brains are made of matter. Matter obeys stuff. Matter obeys laws. Why would the brain be any different? Where's the plantology guy? Tell me about it. I wish he were here. What is pi? About 3. Why are we not able to land on the moon? We are. Did you see my mirror question? I didn't. Can you please explain what a particle spin actually is, or should I just accept its existence? It's a type of angular momentum that particles have just by existing. Particles have mass just by existing. Particles have, you know, charge just by existing. Particles have spin just by existing. Can you prove you're a physicist? I mean, if me answering these rather challenging questions is not enough, I guess in principle I could show you my PhD diploma that says PhD in physics, but I'm not going to do that right now. Why is pi so important? Because circles are important, and oscillation is important. Too bad you're not as rich as Elon Musk. What's the point of making a false claim that you're smarter than him? Well, you can be smarter than somebody while not being as rich. I mean, like, I don't think anybody thinks that Donald Trump has an IQ higher than like 100, but he's pretty rich because falling up is a real thing. Is being a physicist a fun job? I love it. It's my favorite thing to do, actually. In black hole cosmology, how can an entire universe fit within a black hole smaller than the universe? Because space is weird inside a black hole. All right, I'm going to bring up another guest. All right, let's bring up Pablo. Pablo, how's it going?
Sorry, I did not mean to come up. Sorry.
It's okay, you're good. You know, when you get the invitation to come up, you can just click no. All right, let's bring up Johnny Pancakes back up.
Hi.
Johnny Pancakes, what questions you got for me today?
I have a few questions. First of all, what do you think about you said you think free will doesn't exist because of the laws of physics. What do you think about consciousness then? Don't you think that maybe the lack of understanding of that could challenge the idea that everything obeys the laws of physics? Because we really don't see anything that shows consciousness should exist.
I mean, just because we don't understand something doesn't mean that there's some magical force that defies the laws of physics, right?
Right. So that's why I'm curious as to why you take the stance that you, because we don't have an understanding of it, but you do take the stance still that you don't.
Yeah, I mean, so everything else in the universe obeys laws of physics. It seems very, very plausible that the thing inside our skull also obeys the laws of physics.
Okay. And I had a couple more questions.
Sure.
What do you think about the Fermi problem? Just like where is everybody else? Do you think life is common on other planets, or is common anywhere, at least in our galaxy, let's say?
Yeah, so the first thing is that we really haven't looked very hard for life anywhere else. Like, we've kind of like looked at planets and just kind of like said like, you know, it's there. Like you know, there's a gas here, there's not a gas there. But like, the only place that we've actually been and checked for life is the moon and Mars, right? And sort of Venus. So the question is like, it might be that life is like everywhere, and we just haven't really looked very hard. But I kind of suspect that it's fairly rare, and the universe is big. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if there were, you know, a few intelligent species in the galaxy.
So do you think so do you know about the Clipper mission we're sending to Europa? It's like
yeah, I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, do you think life is everywhere? And if it is, then so you said you do think it might be pretty common, but for intelligent life, if it is common, do you then think it's really rare for intelligent life to exist? Because
so
it is true.
Kind of, yes.
Well, yeah. So the weird thing about the Fermi paradox, in my opinion, is that you can do the math to like see how long it would take to actually colonize the entire galaxy once you hit a certain point, and it would only take like a few million years for a species that got the technology to go planet to planet, because it's like exponential growth through the galaxy. It would only take a couple million years to colonize and it's billions of years old. So it's not that we haven't looked much for like microbial life that exists everywhere, but for species if they got to the point that we're at, if we're past the Great Filter, or if we're not, then we would be able to colonize the galaxy pretty quickly from this point on, if we can get to other planets.
I think saying anything about a species, so I mean, compare how humans have changed in the last 15,000 years. To say anything about a species doing anything over the course of millions of years, I think I don't think that we can say anything with certainty about how, you know, how a civilization will behave, you know?
Yeah. Well, that is the big question. Like, how long do civilizations last at all?
Right.
I guess that's really the big question, if they do exist. I mean, the weird thing to me is that dinosaurs were around for like 200 million years, and they didn't do crap.
They didn't do anything.
I mean, they didn't do anything. They just died. Like,
so or if you watch Star Trek, they actually did develop spaceships and then they left.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why. Maybe they dipped. They're just gone now. Yeah. I have a couple more questions, if that's okay.
I'll give you one more. How about that?
Okay.
So pick a good one.
Okay. What do you? This is what I had. What do you think about the black hole information paradox? Do you think what do you think? Just what's your take on that? Do you think the information is lost, or do you think there's been new research recently that says that the inside of a black hole might be quantumly entangled with the Hawking radiation leaving it? What do you think about that?
I kind of lean that way.
Okay.
I think so. There seem to be kind of like two, maybe three things that seem to be like absolutely fundamental to your universe. One, some sort of causality has to be enforced. Otherwise, you can end up with some really big problems. Two, it seems like the equivalence principle is probably true. The equivalence principle is this idea that as long as there's no external force being applied to you, like, you know, if you're just moving under the influence of gravity, you feel like nothing at all.
Right.
And then unitarity. So unitarity is a quantum mechanical thing that ensures that probabilities always add up to 1. It seems like all of those things have to be true. And so it seems like the only solution that you get to the black hole information paradox while keeping those things intact is the one that you mentioned. There's the firewall hypothesis, which breaks the equivalence principle. There's just like the information is lost, which breaks unitarity. There's instantaneous communication, or like things like genuinely leaving the black hole, which breaks causality. So there's a lot of issues.
So wouldn't the quantum entanglement issue break the speed of light issue? Or
no, because no information is communicated.
Well, is it not? Is that not the whole idea, that the information from the inside of the black hole is quantumly entangled and leaving through the Hawking radius?
But the thing is that so no information is passing the event horizon. That's the important point. Entanglement doesn't carry information. What it carries is entropy in some sense. And this is a technical point. I actually made a video about this somewhat recently. I think it did really, really poorly though, so you may have not seen it. But I actually made a video about the...
I've actually never seen your account before. I just stumbled upon this. I was just scrolling.
I think I made a video like a week ago on the information paradox. And
oh, really?
Yeah, let me check.
I'll take a look. On YouTube or on your TikTok?
No, it was on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah, it was... I made a video on this on March 9th. Into my quantum mechanics playlist. So if you just go watch that, it's, you know, I go into some pretty good depth. So check that out for my take on it, and that's probably where you'll get the best. Yeah, no, you're good. I appreciate you being here though. Thanks, man.
Yep, no problem.
Have a good one. What a good sport. Masaki, thank you for the sunglasses. I appreciate you, and everybody who has supported me. You guys are great. Garbagamon, do you have notifications enabled? I don't know how to enable those, but thank you for the $5, Garbagamon. Justin will never live that down. Your thoughts on parallel universe? I suspect they don't exist, except maybe in a quantum sense. All right, let's go back to answering some questions. Do you know Thomas Campbell with TOE, Theory of Everything? Yeah, I looked at the book. There's no math in there. It's not a theory of everything. No way, bro. You do lives? Of course I do lives, yeah. In black hole cosmology, how can entire... Oh, I already answered that. Should I take AP Physics too? Yeah, go for it. Does the singularity go against physics? Yes. Do you have any recommendations for advanced physics books? Depends on how advanced you are, right? Type of math to master? Depends on what physics you want to do. Speaking of equivalence principle, how does getting splattered on Earth not break it, but getting incinerated by a firewall does? What do you mean getting splattered on Earth? The reason you get splattered on Earth is not because of the gravity, which satisfies the equivalence principle. It's the ground. How did ancient astronomers keep track of the celestial bodies without advanced technology? I have no idea. They just had really good record keeping, I guess. They just like looked at the sky and then they drew it. I don't know how they do that. Can you explain covariant bosonic string quantization fully? If you had asked me 7 years ago, I would say yes, but it's been that long since I've even thought about string theory in any serious capacity. So I'm going to say no. Do you believe ghosts exist? No. Why do I feel no ambition or drive other than just enough to coast in live? That's a good question. Could you do a debate live again sometime soon? I do them Monday, Thursday, and Friday. Free will or determinism? I'm a determinist. How can the universe be always existing? There must be an independent start. I don't see why. What's the most useful knowledge theory you possess to apply to human physicality? I don't know what that means. Do you think the Big Bang has happened before? I kind of lean that way, yeah. Well, JS what? I'm not a string theorist. String theory is scary and hard. What is the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic curvature? Great question, Andromeda. Somebody actually linked something that I should probably pull up and show somebody at some point, but essentially intrinsic curvature is a way of describing how distances depend on where you are. Because that doesn't refer to anything external. It's just distant. Like if you're on a sheet of paper and you say that, well, traveling through this part of the sheet of paper costs more distance, that would be an example of intrinsic curvature. Extrinsic curvature is the way a surface or something of higher dimensions is embedded in some larger space. So imagine a curled up sheet of paper that has extrinsic curvature because of the way it's curled up in three-dimensional space. But that says nothing about the intrinsic curvature. Is the black hole event horizon proportional to its mass? Yes, at least for Schwarzschild radii. Can you please explain potential difference? Yeah, so you have two different potentials. The potential difference is the difference between the two different potentials at the two different places. Will the big crunch happen since dark energy isn't constant? It's possible now. The question is what will happen? We don't know. Currently an open question. Combine ask a physicist with debate. I don't like doing that. Kiss, marry, kill, space, time, and gravity. Kiss, space, marry, no. Kiss, gravity, marry, space, kill, time. Time is awful and confusing. What should I look up to understand Dirac's paper on the magnetic monopole? That depends on what parts you're not understanding, I suppose. Everything has vibrations. Every single atom is constantly moving and creating energy. They're not creating energy just by existing. No. $2 from Nectu. Thoughts on loop quantum gravity. So for a while, I didn't know anything on it. And then people asked questions. So I went and I read Ashtakar's, Ape Ashtakar's review on it, which is like 80 pages long. But he actually makes a really compelling case for it. So I'm not sold on it, but it at least seems plausible. Geometry and spacetime, what's your specialty in physics? Those things, geometry and spacetime. Do you ignore infinite regression paradoxes? There's no paradox. Like nobody's ever pointed out a paradox. What should I look up to understand Dirac's paper on the magnetic monopole? I'm undergrad right now. Oh, I already answered that. Real timeline on having humans land on Mars. Who knows? Honestly, who knows? Could be 5 years, could be 50 years. Is science magic? It is. I'm a little confused about black holes. Can you ask a question? Yeah, you can. You just did. When will we get a grand unified theory of teleology and plantology? I'm working on it. Slanted with the Easter tiny diny. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. By the way, if you guys do want to support me in what I'm doing, if you like this or you like debates, there are links in the places that you would expect links, either in the description on YouTube or in my link tree in my bio for all of the things that you'd like to do. You can also join the Discord and ask questions there, because that's cool too. Right, back to questions. Can far galaxies recede at speed faster than c because of expansion of spacetime? Yes. Why does the law of conservation of energy have that under usual conditions at the end? Because there are unusual conditions in which it doesn't hold. What did you study at uni? I did a degree in mathematics and a degree in physics. What's the worst number? 4. How do you balance justice with determinism? You just define justice or responsibility as when the proximal cause is you. Reduce everything to physics laws isn't ignore the conflict and contradictions of reality. I don't know what that question means. When you jump, does it jiggle? I wanted to ask about the supermutation problem because I saw some post calling it the Haruhi problem. Yeah, okay, apparently it's because it was at least partially solved by someone on an anime forum, I think. Which is really funny. I think space and time aren't fundamental, dude. Agree? I don't know. I'm pretty agnostic on that. Is something from nothing illogical? I don't see a contradiction. No, it's not illogical. It might be metaphysically impossible, but it's certainly not logically impossible. Unless somebody has a proof otherwise. Could you explain how one would compute the chiral anomaly in 4D QCD? Again, if you're asking me to do if you're asking me about specific like gauge theory claims or like I'm a relativist. I do relativity, I do differential geometry. I haven't touched QFT again in 7 or 8 years. But you can probably find that in like, I don't know, what book did I use? Let me just go pull up my textbooks. You can probably find it in a textbook. That's like a normal thing that you would compute. What was Benjamin Sisko's father's name? Oh my god, wait, why don't I know this? Ben Sisko's dad. Babby, who was Ben Sisko's dad? What was his name? Was his name ever revealed in the show? Paskin and Schroeder's a good book. Weinberg's also a good book. Hold on, I need to look this up. Ben Sisko's father. Hold on. Joseph. It was Joseph. Ah, I should have known. Sorry, I've let you guys down. It's been a while since I've watched DS9. Opinion on the Big Bang Theory TV show? I kind of like it. What do you think of Eric Weinstein's geometric unity theory of everything? It's nothing. It's a nothing burger. $5 from Jay. What is the smallest size of the past universe where there's scientific consensus on structure and composition? And where does consensus diverge? About the size of a beach ball is roughly where we get to scientific consensus on like what the universe was made out of. About that size. Just after the just about at the electroweak symmetry breaking scale, if I remember correctly. Now I have to rewatch DS9. Not that I'm complaining, I just don't have time. What were your views on the cyclic universe before and after the new DESI drop? Well, okay, so DESI released their first year of data last year, and so I was already leaning that way. Before last year, I was firm on the I don't know camp. You hate math now? I love math. Math is great. Thoughts on offloading contemporary physics problems to be brute solved with AI? AI can't solve it. Like it's just not good enough yet. Any work in general relativity of the conditions of the universe right after the Big Bang? Yes, actually. Yes. Some colleagues of mine recently wrote a paper that got into PRL last summer, on that exact topic, actually. Did the apple fall on Newton's head or on the grass? I don't think it actually happened. Is dark matter something proven, or does it only exist as a concept to make up for our understanding of gravity? Dark matter as the cause of some observed effect is real, insofar as the effect is real and it must have a cause. The question is we don't know what the cause is. Is there an actual thing as a nothing burger statement in the math and physics community? Yeah, shower thoughts, generally. Was Einstein really afraid of black holes? I don't think so. How dense was the universe when it was the size of a beach ball? Very. This is the observable universe, by the way. Do you get bread for being a physicist? Not really, no. How will quantum gravity change our understanding of reality? A lot. Because at least to me, because then hopefully we'll figure out how black holes work. Do you think that the fundamental paradoxes that come from the foundations of math, like the axiom of choice, give inconsistencies in theoretical physics? No. Axiom of choice isn't a fundamental paradox, by the way. There's no, paradoxes are things where you have a contradiction coming up, but there are no contradictions in, that you get with the axiom of choice. If you can escape the event horizon, would time travel be possible? No. Yeah. Hold on. Thinking. Kind of, yes. What does it mean that the universe is geometrically flat? What it means is that the universe, you can have a curved space-time without having any matter in it. And so the point is that if you stripped away all of the matter, stripped away all of the dark energy, what shape would the universe have? The spatial slices of what shape would the universe have? And so it could be flat. It could be spatially flat. It could also be it could also be like a sphere, but it's not. At least it doesn't seem that way. Rich scientists are called engineers, then they're not called scientists anymore. How likely is it that gravity is not quantum? I kind of doubt that it's not quantum, but it could be. Could be absolutely wrong about that. Why is Blitz dodging my question? I'm not. I just don't see all of the questions. Get over yourself. Can you let people come up on the live and let them ask questions in detail? I do, but I also answer questions from chat, so be patient. What research did you provide in a field of science? Well, if I told you my publications, I would dox myself, but I have I don't know, on the order of a dozen publications in the last 5 years, something like that. If two very massive bodies passed closely, no, not even the last 5 years. The last 3 years? 4 years, maybe? Do you think magnetohydrodynamics propulsion is possible? Not efficiently, I suspect. Quantum fluctuations affect space-time curvature. I suspect so, yes. Do you do debates online? Are they not super uncomfortable and stressful? Oh, why? I get a adrenaline boost from them, or endorphins from them. So like, no, it's not stressful at all. What is the limit of sine theta over theta as theta approaches 0? It's 1. Don't come at me with your sinc function. Is your blood pressure worth it? My blood pressure is fine. I actually have quite a low blood pressure generally. What does the wave function physically represent? Yeah, okay, so it could be that it's the real physical thing. It could also be that it's just a measure of our uncertainty in some sense. Does physics have an answer for why my dad left me? Yeah, because he got in his car and he left. Oh. I really do have fun with the debates, yeah. How many people have come in here asking you medical questions because they were thinking it says physician? Most of them think it says psychic. Where'd you get your PhD? I'm not telling. What do you think about the block universe theory? It's plausible. It's plausible. Except on some days when I don't think time is real and I just think it's what a clock does. Can you explain the conservation of energy emerging because of symmetry in time? Yeah, so this is just a result from Noether's theorem. Noether's first theorem if you're a mathematician. And it basically comes about from the way that we describe action. The way that we describe physics is with action. It's something called an action principle. We minimize something and then that thing minimizing that gives us the equations of motion. But it turns out that if the thing that you're minimizing, or extremizing rather, has a certain symmetry, then from your equations of motion, you can actually derive a quantity that doesn't change in time. And it turns out that if you have time symmetry, then that quantity that doesn't change in time we call energy. $5 from Joshua Colden. Is it correct that black holes appear to have a resistance to growing as they gain mass due to the time dilation of falling matter from our frame? Not really. Whether or not from our frame of reference, whether or not they actually fall in, they still grow. Their event horizon still grows, and as it grows, the things that are on the edge would, in some sense, pass in. So no, they don't have a resistance to growing. Things can fall in, no problem. Did you even get a PhD? Yes, I have my PhD, yes. Have you seen Veritasium's video on least action? No, and I heard bad things about it, so I'm not going to watch it. How did scientists come up with experiments to find out about electrons, protons, and their arrangements? So, the original experiments to discover electrons, the electron was discovered by J.J. Thomson in 1897, I want to say. I don't actually know how he came up with the idea, but there are these things called cathode rays, and actually, I should probably make a video on this, on how it was actually discovered, because then I would know. But he discovered that these are particles. They already had these cathode rays in cathode ray tubes, and he was the one who realized that the cathode rays are actually just a stream of particles. Protons were protons were a little bit more complicated to discover, but essentially they were sort of discovered by Rutherford and his collaborators when they were doing gold foil experiments, and they were basically trying to figure out why alpha particles, which is a type of radiation, bounced in such weird ways off of gas molecules. Why is there high pressure in the center of the Earth? Is not all mass pulling outwards? No, mass doesn't pull outwards. If you're in the center of a sphere, the mass outside of you doesn't apply any force. This is Newton's shell theorem, actually. Is your ultimate goal to become a professor? Yes, that would be ideal. I should scroll down to the bottom. Is the universe is apparently forever expanding? Maybe not. If I just learned how to calculate the Doppler effect frequency change in class, how far am I in physics? You are in your sophomore year. If light can't escape the middle of a black hole, why is it bright in the center? It's not. It's not bright in the center. The center is very, very dark. What you're seeing is stuff coming out from nearby. What do you think of string theory? Our only option to combine QFT and gravity without Landau pull? I like string theory generally. I'm just not convinced because it seems like a very, very good framework. I don't think it's a theory of everything, though. At least not necessarily. Just because it seems like it's going to have problem. It seems like it requires supersymmetry, which maybe dead. It also seems like it's going to have problems with predictability. And how long will you be a prof if you were to guess? If I'm on the right track, 5 years probably, maybe a little bit less, but who knows? The job market's awful, and with Trump ruining academia in the United States, it might be, you know, impossible at this point, just because funding is getting cut so much. What's the point of an average physicist? How is he going to benefit from physics? What do you mean benefit? It's a job. What? What do you mean, what's the point? I don't understand. All right, y'all. It's been just over an hour. I am going to end the live now because I have to go take care of something. So thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for more debates. So make sure to stick around and follow along if you're on TikTok. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. Join the Discord in either case. See you guys next time.